Hey guys. Whatever's making you feel. Try with my mouth.
And then you brought it closer.
My mouth is stretchy.
And you brought it closer.
3, 2, 1. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
So this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna do a little play for you, and then we're gonna have a lesson featuring Cookie, not too long. And then after the lesson, we have an activity that you have to be listening to the lesson for to understand. Okay? I promise the activity is really fun, so actually pay attention. It'll be worth your while. So I have 3 rules. Okay? 3 rules. First rule is we're very sensitive, so laugh at our jokes because our feelings will get hurt. Please. Second rule is I want you guys to have fun, okay? So try to have as much fun as possible, okay? Third rule is please do not heckle the actors. They're professional, okay? They went. Heckling is when you talk when somebody is acting, okay? We are professionals. We went to Hollywood for 4 years to study this stuff, okay? So don't heckle us, just push it off our group, okay? So we're gonna start when you guys are good.
No, when you're good.
You guys are fantastic. All right, let's go. Give yourselves a round of applause. Yeah, give yourselves a round
making potions is easy.
If it's so easy, Susie, why can't I get the hang of this? And how do you make it look so effortless?
Practice, practice, practice. It'll be annoying in the beginning, but you'll learn to enjoy it over time.
Time? Time? Time is over, Susie. It's been 6 years at Wizardly Junior, and Chad, can you remember simple instructions?
Well, maybe if you're a little bit more enthusiastic, just a little bit more enthusiastic, we'd be able to learn something. Or, I don't know, maybe you could teach us a potion that increases our focus?
Hey, watch your tone. You wouldn't want Master Miyagi to hear about this. That could result in you getting kicked off the trip to Hogwarts. Oh, or even better, expulsion.
Explosions! A kid speaks their mind, and you're just gonna, blow them up? What kind of school is this?
No, Brad. He said expulsion. It means getting kicked out.
Wait, teachers can kick students?
No, we can't. Unfortunately. Not after what happened last year, right, Mr. Fanous?
Come on, Brad. Brad, get with the program, man. Only Master Miyagi can.
But I am in the program. Why else would I even be here?
Get it, sir. Can you please just extend our potions out? I don't know why we have to do this anyways. It's the end of the year.
It's just so I can see if you guys can follow simple instructions.
Relax, Chad. You'll be fine.
Easy for you to say. You don't have to work with this.
You guys chose to work with one another, remember? Something about Chad and Brad, Chad and Brad.
Chad and Brad, Chad and Brad!
No, Brad!
Remember? Good times. If only potion making was just as fun as rhyming.
Potion making is fun, if you guys just took the time to listen like Susie over here. But no, you two decide to jump right into it, do whatever you want, and then complain that you don't understand. I don't know, maybe try giving an ear first.
Give an ear?
Yeah.
Like you want me to chop it off and give it to you?
Brad, it's an expression. It means listen up.
Again with the blowing stuff up
It's
again!
expression, not explosion!
Give an ear. It means listen closely.
Oh, that was a close one, guys. I would be devastated, because I've only got 2 of them. But between you and me, I really like my right one more. But don't tell Lefty.
Your ears are switched.
They don't know that, they're just ears.
Anyways, this conversation is completely useless. Guys, just please don't be late to potions and herbology.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Alright, I'll see you in class.
Bye, Mr. Ball.
Bye.
Potions, herbology, why can't we learn something more useful, like math?
Ew, you're never gonna use that stuff. Well, that's what my brother says anyways. Besides, why did you even come to the school knowing you'd be learning these things?
Mr. Bob is so boring. All he does is talk and talk and talk. I mean, I can't even listen to that voice anymore. Oh, I can't. I'm so stressed out with school, graduation, and then I still have to grow up, man. I don't have time for this. I'm so stressed all the time.
I hear you. At least a graduate would be a good de-stressor.
Yeah, Chad, it'll be really well deserved after finishing that herbology project.
You can say that again.
Yeah, Chad, it'll be really well deserved after finishing that herbology.
Deputy, what project?
Oh, Mr. Bob assigned it months ago. Basically, we had to grow a plant and then assign it a special feature, like being magic proof or something like that. It took me forever, but I just finished it this weekend.
Brett, you knew about this?
Yeah, don't worry. I signed this up and everything. We're gonna work on it together. Mr. Bob even said, if you don't finish the project, you won't go on the trip.
So why didn't you say anything about it?
You said you were stressed.
That's the owl. I'll catch you guys in class. Let me know if you need help brainstorming, okay?
Bye, Susan.
Bye!
Brett, this is bad, man.
This isn't bad.
Does that mean you started?
No. This isn't bad. This is terrible. No project, no trip. Chad, I'm burnt out, man. It's the end of the year, and all I really want to do is get out of Wizardly Junior so I can start my real life in Wizardly High.
Okay, but what if you don't get that chance? What if you don't get to move on? What if you don't get to meet all these new people, join clubs, new teams, because you didn't finish this one project? What are you going to do then, huh? What? This one project could literally spoil everything we've worked on. What? Are you coming or not?
Yes, Chad.
So if you had 20 phoenix feathers, 3 sheep hairs, and you heat it to 50 degrees Celsius, the resulting potion will turn you into...
How am I supposed to focus with that monotone voice? I mean, he's just so boring. Just give us the answer already. Look at that goody two-shoes, Susie. How does she focus on this stuff? He keeps pointing at that. I should probably get that down.
I feel like he's said these things a million times. I mean, I guess it's important. I really don't see how it is, though. But he's the teacher, and he's been here for like 20 years or something. I guess I don't see it now, but I'm sure I'll understand it when I'm at Wizardly High.
Bored. 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 Hey! What if the reason why students get bored in class is because there are boards in class? It's like we're being brainwashed. We see the board, we get bored. We fail. I always knew it. Illuminati confirmed. They don't want me to win!
Right, is everything okay?
Yeah, Mr. Bob. Sorry, I was just thinking about what the other Quidditch team said to us the other day.
Alright, just relax.
Good morning, class!
Good morning, sir!
Good morning.
I was just thinking about that Quidditch match too. Oh, you guys are so good at Quidditch. I'm really gonna miss you here at Wizardly Junior, but I know you're gonna do great things at Wizardly High.
Oh, Master Miyagi. What a pleasant surprise. Is everything okay?
Oh yeah, everything's fine. I was just walking by and I was bored and I thought I'd check in, and it's also teacher evaluations.
Oh, teacher, okay, well in that case, class, take out textbooks A through C. We're going to be practicing potions 1, 2, 3, and 4. Remember, swish and flick, okay? Swish and flick. I'm a good teacher, right, Brad? I'm a good teacher, right, Brad? There you go. See, sir, I'm a teacher. All right, get to it.
You guys, I've been practicing this potion all weekend. Watch, it's so good.
This, more? What kind of potion is named this and more?
Susie, you watch. Brad knows that he's got this hands down.
Are you trying to make this or more?
Yeah, let's do this, and we can do more too.
No, this or more.
Yeah, I said let's do this, and we can do more too.
No, I'm talking about this. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about this too.
What about more?
Yeah, sure, we can do that too.
What are you adding to this?
This.
What about more?
Yeah, sure, we can have more.
We didn't do this yet!
Yes, we did, and we added more to it.
No, you added more of this, but then not more of that!
Brad's confused.
You guys are gonna show me how this is not.
This is not.
We didn't do this yet!
Then what's this?
Yeah, what is this?
This is that, and we have more too.
We didn't do this, and we didn't do more!
You did this?
Yeah, we did this.
And do you add more to that?
Yeah, we added more to
You
that.
added more to this and more to that.
We added more to this and that.
We didn't do this!
This?
No, that!
That is this!
And this is that.
Is that this or is this that?
That is this!
And this is that.
What's that?
What's that?
There's more!
Oh, it just hit me. This is this, and we have more too.
It was a great attempt, Chad and Brad.
Great attempt.
Yeah.
Great attempt. They didn't do anything I told them to.
Mr. Bob, they did their best. Chad took notes and everything.
Oh, great. She took notes. That's great. But did she apply what she wrote down? No. She always just jumps into things.
Mr. Bob, relax. Take it easy. It's okay, guys. He's just yelling at you because he cares. Could your potions be in better form? Absolutely. That reminds me. Forms! Your grad forms are due next week, but I think all three of you got them.
On the other hand,
And is this another explosion?
Russian!
anyways, guys, when did we say the projects are due?
Tomorrow.
And what did we say? If you don't finish the projects,
Don't go on the trip.
if you don't finish the projects,
You don't go on the trip.
Alright, perfect. Thank you. The bell doesn't dismiss you, I do. Sit down.
I mean, technically, it's an owl. You guys can go enjoy your lunch.
Bye.
Bye.
Sorry, Master Mickey. I'm just trying to stay in control, you know?
That's okay, Mr. Bob, but sometimes you really need to know when to take action and when to just relax so you don't get stressed. Do you want to grab lunch, friend?
No.
Brad, I'm stressing, man. Hogwarts is the highlight of the year.
Yeah, not going is like social suicide, dude.
What are we gonna do? How are we gonna finish this whole project in one night? All the projects that we've submitted have been average. Failure is below average. We gotta stay average.
Well, Chad, maybe you should have thought about that before. You started on this project like so late. How are you gonna grow a whole plant in one night?
We have the same project, Brad. How do you... Susie, please help us.
What's that?
We haven't started her biology projects yet, and you know the rule. You know the rule!
If you don't finish the project, you don't go on the trip.
So please, help us.
What do you guys have in mind? Brainstorm sesh?
No, we don't have time to brainstorm. We have to start, and we have to start now.
Yeah, but you're gonna need a plan.
That's where you come in.
What were you thinking of doing?
Well, we don't think, we just do. But in this case, we also don't do. Because if we did, then we would have been done.
What's up, Brad?
Thank you, Chad.
You need to have another idea. Don't you love this stuff?
I don't know. This is how it always starts. I come up with a plan, I do the work, and then you guys learn nothing.
But I thought you loved to work.
Yes. I thought it gave you a sense of accomplishment, allowed you to expand your horizons, and add to your ever-growing skill set.
That's besides the point. I've already finished my project. I can help, but I'm not going to do any work. Sorry.
But you've done this before.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not about it this time.
I wasn't asking if you are about it.
Are you saying I don't have another option? Because that's huge.
Susie, we're friends. You've got to help us.
Friends wouldn't force things onto me.
Well, if we don't go, who are you going to show it?
I don't know, but by the looks of it, maybe I don't want you guys
You're
here.
going to do our project!
That sounds like a you problem.
You're gonna have a problem real soon, right, Brett?
Yeah, Chad, that sounds like a you problem.
Your problem is my problem. We have the same project.
Right. It's a me problem.
Are the problem. But if Susie doesn't help us with our project, she's gonna have a problem.
So, her problem is our problem?
No, Brad, our problem is that we don't have a project. Her problem is that she won't help us with our project.
Oh.
Yeah. Brad, I have an idea.
An idea for the project?
No, Brad, something even better!
Oh my god, TV.
Harry Potter.
Listen. 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 Listen.
Alright! Who did this? Huh? Who turned Mr. Performance into this? What am I even supposed to do with this?
Oh no, that's so unfortunate, Mr. Bob. What can we do to help?
Yes, sir. We will help.
What do you two know?
What do you want to know?
We know nothing, sir.
Nothing, of course.
You clearly know something. I can tell by your mannerisms. Your restless leg, avoiding eye contact. Brad always stresses when he's up to something.
No, I don't.
Brad.
Well, it doesn't matter. Until you guys tell me something, that's it. Trip's canceled.
What? No!
Hey!
It's only fair. Be honest and tell the truth. It's part of our code of conduct as wizards.
Well, if it's gonna keep everyone from
Uh-huh.
going on the grad trip,
Yes?
Brad and I do know something.
Alright, speak up.
But I don't want to be snitching.
Yeah, snitches get bracelets.
Tell him. Get stitches, Brad. Snitches got stitches.
But why would they get stitches?
Because they get hurt from ratting someone out, resulting in a beating. Therefore, the wounds needed additional medical treatment, aka stitches.
Oh, my eyes have been opened. I was blind, but now I hear.
Sir, I don't want to get hurt, but I also don't want to keep everyone from not going on the grad trip.
Chad, it's for the greater good. For every action, there's a consequence.
But what if I tell you who did it and they don't want to be my friend anymore?
Oh, after all this, you really think that I'm going to care what your friends are going to think about you? Look what you did to my only friend, Mr. Pachomius.
To be honest, I don't even think she's my friend.
What are you implying? Goody two-shoes Susie did this?
What? Of course I did it. Why would I do that?
I don't know, maybe you have something against Mr. Bob?
Yeah, maybe you had something against Mr. Bob.
What does that mean?
Well, maybe you were sick of all the assignments he was giving, and you wanted to get back at him.
So I changed the cat into a human? Really?
Yes.
She said it, not me.
Mr. Bob, this is ridiculous. Why would I do that to you?
I don't know, Susie. It does seem out of character, even for you. Maybe you wanted to end your final year off with a bang. Bang! Explosions!
A bang? Like some grad prank?
Yeah.
Exactly. It was a grad prank. She did it for a grad
First
prank.
of all, if I were to do it for a grad prank, which I wouldn't, it would be 10 times better than this. It wasn't me.
Then who would it be, Susie? Chad? Brad? Look at them! These two can't make a level 12 potion like this. I'd honestly be surprised if these two could make ice.
Hey.
Susie, you're the only one with the knowledge to make a potion like this. And I found a lock of your hair in Mr. Pachomius.
How do you even know that's mine?
Black, curly, whose else would it be?
Chad's hair is like mine. You didn't even ask her about
Brad's hair could be like yours, you didn't even ask me.
Susie, stop shifting blame. You're the only one with the power to make a potion like this. And as for your hair, Mr. Pachomius probably clawed it off your head while you were trying to make your great escape.
Sir, you're just assuming that.
I'm not assuming anything, Susie. I have 2 eyewitnesses and DNA proof. Case closed. You're off the trip.
No!
Wait. I sense disruption. Something isn't right here.
Don't worry, sir. I've already came to a conclusion.
Really quickly, too, might I add.
Well, nobody messes with Mr. Pachomius and gets away with it.
It wasn't me, sir.
Okay, what exactly happened here?
Well, sir, let me just...
I was asking Susie.
Sir, I don't even understand what happened myself. We came back from lunch and Mr. Pachomius was turned into a human. And then Mr. Bob asked around and Brad and Chad told him that I did it, which of course I didn't do that. And then he found a lock of hair on Mr. Pachomius, and I guess it kind of looks like mine, but in all honesty, I have no idea how, because sir, it wasn't me.
Mr. Bob, have you considered this whole scenario? Are you sure that she's the culprit? I have doubt.
Master Miyagi, it doesn't matter. She is the one who used magic outside the classroom. She is the one who changed my cat into a human. She should not be allowed on this trip.
Mr. Bob, relax. Let me deal with this.
You're wasting our time. I've already came to a conclusion. Susie, you're off the trip.
No, your judgment is clouded by your emotions. I've been there before. You need to relax. Look at all the options.
Sir, you're wasting our time.
Alright, can you just trust me? If you're so sure in your judgment, then you wouldn't mind me re-examining the situation. Allow me to handle this. Many times we make decisions that are too rash. Do not find fault before you examine the situation. Understand it first, and then come to your judgment. Do not answer before you have listened.
But!
Do not interrupt me when I am speaking!
But!
Everyone, follow me to my office.
Sir, you are wasting our time here. This case, it's as good as closed and you know it. We have 2 eyewitnesses and DNA proof. What more do you need from the situation?
Time is not my biggest worry here, Mr. Bob. Discerning between what is right and wrong is my main concern. If I hadn't been at the room at the time, you would have kicked Susie off the trip just like that, without letting her plead her case.
Yeah, and you know what? I would have saved her breath too, because I know I'm right.
Alright, we get it. You think you're right. But allow me to handle this and maybe you might learn something.
Yeah. As you please.
Alright. Here's the plan. Chad and Brad are going to be questioned separately. They claim that they saw Susie commit this act, and they are your 2 eyewitnesses. So their stories should line up.
Oh, well, I didn't really ask them what they saw Susie do.
So your whole argument is based off of emotions And assumptions? I'm disappointed in you. You should know better than that.
Forgive me, Master.
All is well. Let's see what the children have to say. Brad, please come in. Okay, Brad. How's it going?
It going? Well, it was in the herbology classroom and it hit me, so it's not going anywhere.
No, let me rephrase that. How are you, Brad?
Oh, why didn't you say so? Brad as well.
Okay, that's good to hear, Brad. Mr. Bob got me caught up to the current situation, and he told me that you were an eyewitness.
Yes, my eyewitness did.
Great. And what did your eye witness?
It witnesses many things.
You really have to be specific with this one, don't you?
Now you know what I've been dealing with.
Okay, Brad, did your eyewitness Susie change Mr. Bochomias into a human?
Yes, indeed I did.
Okay, and...
I and Chad did.
Alright.
Brad and Chad did.
Okay, and if you saw her commit this act, then you know how she did it.
Of course.
Okay, so how did she do it?
With a potion.
Now we're getting somewhere. And where did she commit this act?
Well, I saw Susie walk into the washroom with Mr. Bob's cat. She was also carrying a bunch of stuff with her. Then, she ran out screaming.
But how do you know that Mr. Bochomias actually changed into a human?
Oh, I also saw a man walk out of that washroom. At first, I thought it was just an ugly guy. But then Chad said that guy was wearing the same collar as Mr. Bochomias. Then he started coming to our classroom, and it was horrible.
Horrible indeed. How are you feeling after all that?
Brad is well after all of that.
That's good to hear.
How are you feeling after all of that?
I'm okay. Thanks for asking. It was a pleasure having you, Brad. Is there anything else you want to tell me?
It was a pleasure having you too.
Alright, Brad. You can go wait outside of my office. Alright. Go. Yeah. See, now we have something to work with.
You're gonna trust Brad's word?
You didn't have a problem trusting him 5 minutes ago. I understand he's often confused and he doesn't really know what's going on, but he gave us a direct story. We have something to work with: characters, setting, and an action.
Oh, I get it now. So that's what you were looking for when you were trying to discern the situation.
Exactly. Now, give an ear. The trick here is to not react if Chad's story doesn't align with Brad's. Alright, Chad, please answer.
Hello, sir. How can I be of service?
You can be of great service, Chandler.
How did you know my real name?
I'm the master. Nothing gets by me. I know all. I know everything.
Everything?
I mean, no, but I can learn everything. I mean, not even, but I can learn something. That's besides the point. You know why you're here.
Well, I've got to state my case first. What I saw.
You know a lot about the law, don't you?
Well, I want to become a lawyer first, but then my parents just forced me to come here instead.
Okay. And Chandler, you claim you saw Susie commit this act. So how did she do it?
With a level 12 potion on page 394 under the section of Transfiguration.
That's oddly specific. And where did she do this?
Well, we saw her walk inside of the janitor's closet, and she was holding a bunch of stuff with her, including Mr. Bob's cat. And then she just ran out screaming.
But how do you know that Mr. Bochomias actually changed into a human?
Well, we also saw a man walk outside of the same closet, and he was wearing the same tag as Mr. Bochomias. And he just made his way back into our classroom.
You're very observant, aren't you?
Well, with a teacher like Mr. Bob, how can I not be?
Mr. Bob, they actually learned something in your class. Alright, Chad. Is there anything else you want to tell me?
No, sir.
Then you can go wait outside with Brad. Oddly specific that she knew which page the potion was on. Is she the type to read ahead 3 years in advance?
She's not the type to read. Period. And plus, she did state a different place than Brad did at the beginning. Sir, you were right. I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions. I'm sorry.
That's okay, Mr. Bob, but it's not me that you have to apologize to.
You know, I'm right. I know what I've done wrong, and I know what I need to do to fix it. But yet, we still don't have a culprit.
Allow me to handle that. Everyone, please answer. Through today's situation, I've learned a lot, as has Mr. Bob. But I have one more question for the three of you. What does it state in our code of conduct as wizards?
Always tell the truth.
And yet, you two, Chad, Brad, you had the audacity to lie straight to my face. I gave you the opportunity to tell the truth. And yet, you ran with your fabricated stories. For this, we have to establish a punishment. Follow me.
Susie,
Mr. Bob, I told you it wasn't
let
me.
me finish. Do not interrupt me when I'm speaking.
Sorry, sir.
No, Susie. I'm sorry. I really am. I was gonna get kicked off the trip, and that's not fair of me. Taking things at the moment is not the way to go.
That's okay, sir.
No, it's not okay, Susie. I didn't give you a chance to defend yourself. Acting out of impulse in these situations is not the way to go about things, and taking whatever you hear as word didn't help at all. Next time I should really look to understand the situation from multiple different perspectives. Seek guidance from my elders like Master Miyagi and apply what I've learned in the past. Susie, I promise to be a better teacher in the future.
Okay. Do you want to grab lunch?
No.
From the first country.
So how do you guys enjoy it, guys? Alright guys, so welcome 20th annual Cool Convention. How are you guys enjoying it so far? Now, you guys are so weak. What is going on? There's one of me and I can hear myself right now. Good. Which one did you guys watch before?
The one disabled but able.
Disabled but able. Fantastic. Remember the session names. Our session name, what's it called? Wizards of Wavering Faith. Why? Because everyone's faith was wavering when stuff was happening. But we'll go into it. So, usually when we sit down for Cool Convention, as much as we want you guys to have fun and share together in sports, fellowship, and all that, we also want you to walk away from this retreat carrying something back. So in order for you to apply that within your own spiritual life, as you go off to high school, as you start grade 8, right? So when we started to figure out what we wanted to have you guys walk away with, we came up with this theme. So it's imitation without, imitation without, imitation without. You guys are like monotone. That is him, right? So who are we ultimately supposed to imitate?
God.
Yes. Jesus, God. Let's go with Christ then, right? Christ is who we're imitating. Because you know what? When the whole creation happened, and then we fell into sin, did God send an angel? No. Did he send a prophet? No. He's like, you know what? I got to get this job done. This is how you should be living out your lives here on earth until you're ready to come back to me, right? So, in the beginning, when we were trying to figure out which sessions would have which characteristics, our main objective was every session will have a characteristic of Christ. So our characteristic, this session, is wisdom and discernment. And we'll get into what it means to discern and what it means to have wisdom. So oftentimes we forget our track, or we start to lose sight of what we are as Christians, right? So I'm just going to ask you 3 questions. First one. You go to medical school to become?
A doctor.
Fantastic. The Coptic Church hasn't failed you yet, right? Second question. You go to law school to become?
A lawyer.
Fantastic. Last one. You go to church to become?
A Christian.
Ah, well, this one was better. Last session, everyone was all over the place. But I want to go even one step further. Do you just come to church to become a Christian? No, I can be Christian anywhere, right? But I come to church to become what?
Like
A good Christian? Christ-like, I like that. So ultimately, we come to church to become Christ, right? Just as a med school goes to medical school to become a doctor. Our premise is very clear. I'm coming here to become this. Why do I say that? Pope Shenouda said this. What's our objective? Our objective as Christians is what? It's very important to know. This is our why as Christians, right?
Go to heaven.
To go to heaven,
Be like God.
To be like God, to everlasting life. So I'm going to go one step further. Posting to put it very clear, he said this. He's like, if Christ is not in heaven, I don't want to go there. If Christ is not in heaven, I don't want to go there. Our objective as Christians is not to go to this destination. Our objective as Christians is to have a one-on-one relationship with Christ, to become more like Him. So at the end of the day, he's like, we finally see Him. He's like, yes, you imitate me just how I was on earth, right? So to even go back to that, when, sorry, I lost my train of thought, right? At the end of the day, we oftentimes treat Christ as an imaginary friend. Some guy that we say, oh, thank God. Oh, no, now I get to blame you because things didn't go my way. Oh, why is this happening in my family? Why is this happening with my friends? This is your fault, God. And then you don't really get to know him. You just kind of blame him for anything that really happens. Sometimes you'll thank him here and there. So oftentimes, he's just seen as an imaginary friend. But in reality, he's someone that cares for you. He's a real person. He wants to hear. He already knows you. But he wants you to take that first step in order to get to know him. How do you do this? We'll go into that later, right? Through all these gifts and virtues that we start to develop. So our verse for the convention is 1 Corinthians 11:1, right? So let's read it all together. Imitate me just as I also imitate Christ. Once again. Imitate me just as I also imitate Christ. One more time. Imitate me just as I also imitate Christ. So at the end of the day, it's not that you see the person up here giving the talk, or you see the people giving the play, or you see one another just as you are. We should be able to bring up all the grace that we have. We should be able to love one another, not just because, oh, we're friends, we're family, we're great people, just because we don't want to treat anyone like poorly. No. Ultimately, I should become like Christ. So when I look around, I need patience. When someone is testing my patience, I'll say no. I don't see this person that's acting out. I see Christ. I don't see this kid that's going nuts. I see Christ. So I know I need to be patient. I know I need to be loving. I should be an icon in the sense that I'm walking around. People don't see Kirulus, they don't see Philo, they see Christ. Right? And that goes for all of you guys. And I'm pretty sure that Christ has put everything in your heart to do so. Right? Don't underestimate yourself. So now let's go towards the virtues. So we're going to define the first virtue of wisdom, arriving at one's aim and purpose through the proper and appropriate means. Right? How does that work? When you're reading the Bible and you're trying to figure out what wisdom is, they always come back to this one verse. The beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord. The beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord. So in Proverbs 9:10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of His Holy One is understanding. So at the beginning, when you first have a relationship with your parents, what happens? They say do this. Are you going to do it or are you not going to do it? You're going to do it. At first, why? I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to make them upset. So that's how our relationship with God first starts off. I don't know if it's because of past relationships we've had with our parents, with our friends, that I didn't do what they wanted and they got upset at me. So we kind of look at God in that way. But as we start to realize, hey, God wants things for me. He doesn't want me to do things. He wants me to do great things through me, right? So did you guys catch what Bible story we were going off of for our play? We can just take guesses. Go for it, yeah?
Wasn't it like a story where like two men wanted to like be with a woman?
Yep. Yeah. Do you know like the name?
No, I forgot.
So this is go for it. The asterisk. Susanna, right? So the story of Susanna is read on Bright Saturday, right? After Good Friday, Abu Ghalim cease. Like when everyone is sleep deprived, you go home and sleep like for 2 hours and you're like, okay, let's get back to it. It's one of the things that's read. It's not in all our Bibles, depending on what kind of version of the Bible you have. But it's actually part of the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel in total is 14 chapters, but in majority of Bibles, it's 12 chapters. And this actually happens before Daniel's story starts. So when Daniel is in this story, he's actually around your age. He's 14, 15, 16, around there. He's a very young man. So what happens? There's a woman, her name is Susanna. She's very beautiful, very intelligent, and she's married, and they're very wealthy. So back in the day, you guys don't have showers. So if you're really rich, you have a pool in the back of your house. So she goes to bathe at the pool every single day at the same time. She has her servants, they come lock up everything, and then she sends them away. There's two other guys. They're the judges of their nation, right? And what happens is this. the judges are basically acting as a god, right? They get to decide what is good and evil. So one day, one judge is walking. He's like, oh, I know Susanna at this time goes to like Fady. I'm gonna go. And then, what do you know? The other guy's there too. He's like, oh, hey, how's it going? He's like, oh, not bad. So what are you doing? Oh, you know, I'm just passing through. He's like, oh, okay, cool. And then obviously they're shamed. They're embarrassed. They're like, oh, we're the people that lead the nation. I can't let him know I'm doing this. And like, okay, we'll see you tomorrow. And then things are still stirring in their heart. So they go back. They're like, oh, hey, you're back here again? Yeah. And they start to get ashamed, and they're like, oh, wait, what was your plan? Oh, well, I was going to see Susanna. Oh, me too. So they start to conspire together. So they start to go in, she screams. So then they say, you got two options. Either do what we want, or we're going to tell everyone you were doing some bad stuff with another guy, and then what's going to happen? Back in the day, the law was, if you committed adultery, your sentence was death. They'd stone her on the spot. So now she's in a hard place. But you know what she said? She screamed out, people came to her. But in her head, she was like this, would she do what the men wanted? No. She said, I'd rather die than to sin in front of God. Right? She's not trying to compensate. She's not trying to say, I'll do what they want. I know my God, and I know He's going to protect me, and I know she's prepared to say, you know what, my relationship with Christ is more important than anything else on this earth. Even if it means death, God, you know what you're doing, you have the wisdom, you have the grace, you have discernment, He'll protect me, He'll get me through this. So then afterwards, next day shows up, judges are like, yo, guess what she did yesterday? We saw this, and now we're going to have a court case. So everyone's like, okay, basically the judge's final say. I saw you do this. It's the easiest thing. We're the two eyewitnesses. We're the ones that get to say you're guilty. Clear as day. They're like, you know what? We saw Susanna do this. That's all. Everyone's like, oh, I guess that's an agreement. Like, okay, peace out, Susanna. Have like a fantastic death. Right? And then all of a sudden, Daniel, a little boy, right? Around your age, I'm innocent of this woman's blood. They're like, who's this little fart? Like, what are you doing? Right? He's like, no. And what was happening at the time was the Holy Spirit was stirring up within Daniel, and God was using Daniel as a vessel in the sense that He gave him the wisdom on how to discern this case. So he's like, you know what? I don't think this is true. And if you guys think this is true, like to the T, here, let's assess you. How are we going to assess you? We're going to take you guys one-on-one and then ask for your stories. They're like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, you're 14. Like, how long can you actually stay with this, like, act? So he brings one of the judges. So he's like, okay, you claim you saw her do this with a guy. Which tree did you see this happen under? And he was like, oh, I saw it under this tree. He's like, okay, fantastic. You're a liar. Off with your head. He sends him off just for now. Right? Second judge comes, and he tells him, hey, where'd you see Susanna happen? He says, oh, I saw it under a different tree. Right? The other tree. So now there's two different locations. He's like, you know what? You're wrong. Off with your head. So after that, everyone in the nation's like, yo, these guys are lying. They're trying to do this. They're trying to blackmail her in order to define what is right and wrong. And so in that sense, Susanna was saved, and the judges were put to death. So it's the same consequence that they had for her. But because of her persistence and her trust and wisdom of God, acting within Daniel, she was saved from those men. Right? So the takeaway story from Susanna is always, I'd rather die than sin in front of God. And that's because I don't think too many of us, and honestly I can't say for myself either, but I want to say, you know what? I'd rather die than sin. So then to go with discernment is the ability to correctly judge between good and evil. Right? You know what's good and what is evil. And that becomes blurred as time goes on. Right? But through the grace of God, you keep getting experience in the sense that I'm going to judge this, I'm going to judge that, and take my time. At the beginning, what did Mr. Bob do? When Mr. Bob heard that his cat was turned into a human, was he happy? No, he was enraged. He's like, what do you mean? Like, how does this happen? I don't even know what's going on. First thing that came to his ear, it must be that. You know what? Come. And I think that's what happens to us. Our friends come to us and say, hey, she said this about you. And you're like, oh my gosh, I thought we were friends. What do you mean? And then you guys go start fighting and say, I'm not going to talk to her for 6 months. And then like 2 days later, like, you know what, I was acting rash. I didn't know what I really wanted. And like, they just told me this, so I just said that. And he's like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. Right? But at the end of the day, you always have to take a step back. If you ever watch speakers answer questions, you'll see this as you guys get older. But there's two types of speakers that answer questions. They'll go Someone will ask them a question, they'll just blurt out the first thing that comes to their mind. And then the really good speakers, they'll stop. They'll listen to the question, take like a 3-minute pause. Not 3-minute pause, sorry. 3-second pause, and then formulate their answer, right? And that's what we should probably try and do. Watch our tongues in the way that we speak in order that we get across what we want, right? Not just anything. Always assess the situation. So in our play, in the beginning, who was teaching? Who seemed like they had the wisdom? In the beginning, the guy's like, give an ear. He's spitting out all this knowledge, he's spitting out all this wisdom in the beginning. Mr. Bob, right? And then all of a sudden, Master Miyagi comes in, and he's like, hey, what's going on? And so you see, oh, there's someone he has to report to. He always asks for help. But out of his pride, he'll say, no, I don't want help, I know what I'm doing, right? But it's not just because of his pride, but because of his emotions and what was so important to him that he started to act like that. But towards the end, he finally gives in. He repents in the sense that I know I did wrong, and I'm going to learn from it, and then he acts on it by asking for forgiveness and applying what he learned from Master Miyagi. So why is wisdom important? So I really like this verse from Proverbs chapter 4-7. Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you. Wisdom is supreme. Therefore, get wisdom. Though it costs all you have, get understanding. So at the end of all this is, you always want to be able to ask for wisdom. St. Anthony says this, I asked, and I found, I knocked, and I saw, and I found, I asked, and I was given, I knocked, and I believe that it will be open to me. Right? So constantly, when we don't know something, always ask. Our church is so rich in the sense that it has all these great treasures, and like, you'll always find an answer. Even if someone doesn't have the answer, continuously ask. If it doesn't please you, ask. Someone's got to have. We've got a bunch of books. We've got all our priests, all our spiritual guides in that sense. So don't be too scared to ask, right? Don't be ashamed. Like, oh, it's good to question your faith. Don't take things just as they are, right? People that take things just as they are, yes, you're obedient, but I rather know what's going on rather than just being like, yes, I know what's happening. And then when someone asks, like, why do we do this? You're like, well, they told me so that's, we just say this, obedience, yes, humble. No. Always seek it out. Seek wisdom and apply it to your life. Always. And it'll protect you. The more you know, the better you are to be able to pass on your traits. So Master Miyagi had the traits of wisdom. He's trying to pass it on to Mr. Bob, who then passes it on to who? His students. Fantastic. So we said that Daniel has wisdom as well, right? He started off as a young man, so never say that I am not wise as a child. You guys are wise. God has put this gift inside of each and every one of you in order for it to grow. It's a seed, you plant it in the ground, you feed it through different situations in order to reap the fruit, which is later on through discernment. I really like this icon here, and this is, I think, one of the best things of wisdom. It's a variation on a different one. But basically, this is the Trinity while they are creating everything. So oftentimes, people are like, oh, like, God makes all these great things in detail. But God understands the detail. So my favorite quote would always be like this. It's like, can any of you tell me here why a certain star is placed in the sky? Not like the sun, just any random star. Like you point to the sky, be like, ah, why is that one there? Because it shines? But I can tell you. Like I can't tell you anything. But God can tell you. I placed this star in the sky for this reason. I placed this blade of grass here. I placed this many pieces of sand on the earth for this reason. And you're like, okay, that's so minuscule. Like, why do I care about that? Because a lot of times people are like, God doesn't care about what I am doing here. But I think if God takes the care to worry about a blade of grass or an insect or a star, which no one cares about, I think he can care so much about you. He has a reason for placing you here on this earth, right? So we're constantly trying to imitate him in that sense. If we gain the wisdom, we can see other people. At the end of the day, when we finally show up for our judgment, and judgment is not seen as a bad word. Judgment is seen as reward. You've done this, you will be rewarded this. If I do something bad, you will be rewarded with that.
Good.
Oh, we gotta work on that. Right? But that's what it's about. I've applied, my reward is what I deserve. So now how do we gain wisdom? Super easy steps. Easier said than done. Right, Philo? Oh my gosh, who's back there? Chantal?
No.
Okay. Beautiful. So these are 3 things I'd like you to take away as you leave from here, right? So how do we gain wisdom? Ask for it and pray for it, right? King Solomon had he had a nation, he had an army, he had riches, he had all these things, and then when God was like, hey, I'm really pleased with you, what would you like? He's like, yo, I have this, and I'm like, it doesn't mean much to me. And he still kept thinking, praying about it. He's like, you know what, God, give me wisdom. Off the bat. God was like, I love this answer, you'll be the wisest person on earth. Right? And through that, he was able to do all these things. So when you have wisdom, you're able to apply it in so many different ways. You can apply it to be a great athlete. You can apply it to be a great Christian. You can apply it to be a great student, right? All these traits cross over in order for you to understand how you work, so you can help other people work to the best of their abilities for the glory of God. Second thing, seek guidance. So Mr. Bob, at the end, he said, I want to seek guidance from Master Mikhaiel. Just as you guys. Everyone here should have a father of confession, right? We're grade 7, we're grade 8, khalas. No more baby steps. Seek out your father of confession. They'll know you the best in the sense that, hey, you need to work on here because you have this, but we need you to be over here. And don't be scared to go to a woman and ask and say, this is what I want. When you go to the doctor and you ask and you're sick, you say something like, if I go into the doctor and I know I'm sick, am I going to be like, yeah, sometimes I feel queasy. Okay. When do you feel queasy? Okay, in the morning. Fantastic. Do you have any pain? Yeah. Where? Somewhere over here.
You must be a pharmacist.
I wish I was a pharmacist. I'm sorry for anyone. Right? At the end of the day, you want to be specific. The more specific you are, the more specific the medicine will be when the doctor gives it to you. Same thing with Abuna, right? Abuna, I'm struggling with this. He'll be like, you know what? We'll start with this, then we'll increase to this, and then finally, through God's grace, your healing will begin. And hopefully will end. And that's constantly a growing relationship with Christ. And then finally, Abuna can say all he likes, your parents can say all that they like, the Bible can write as many books as it likes. But at the end of the day, it's all about obedience and experience. Apply what you learn. I can give you all the instructions in the world how to live your life perfectly, and at the end of the day, be like, I don't know how to read. I don't want to read. Don't read. And then afterwards, be like, it didn't work out for me. Did you read the instructions? No! Read the instructions. Follow the instructions. Oh, it didn't work? Go back to it. Ask, why didn't this work? I thought this is how it works. It's like, oh, did you try this? Let's try it from a different angle because your situation is like this. Everyone's spiritual journey is going to be different. Everyone's relationship with Christ is going to be different. At the end of the day, the fruits that you produce are what are supposed to be the imitation of what He is, right? So at the end of the day, it's not that we see each other individually. We see each other as the body of Christ as Christ. Beautiful?
Well, it's beautiful. Give a round of applause.
Okay, guys. So, Fady has a workshop for us. Hi, Fady!
Hi.
Hi, Fady!
Alright, folks. Alright. So, listen up. I'm going to give you instructions real quick. I know it's a little bit hot in this room, but like, you turn to the person next to you and blow on them or something. Alright. I'm kidding. Don't do that.
Ah, your breath.
Don't do that. Alright. So, I've got cases like this, okay? Each case you need to solve 4 clues to open the case. Your candy is inside this case. So don't come asking me for candy. Work for the candy. Alright? So we're going to give you the 4 clues on a piece of paper, and we're going to give you a case. Alright? So I'm going to divide you into 4, 5 groups. Okay? 5, not 4.
Guys, the other group had a really hard time with doing this, so if you're able to do it, we will be thoroughly impressed. Okay?
Yes, I will be very impressed. We removed the clue. We made it easy. Alright, so I'm going to walk and into little groups, and then you guys want to stay together? Honestly. No. Alright, you want to stay here? Okay, go this way.
You have 2 letters.
No. Oh, the leader's mark. No. Oh, you got it? Have you heard this before? You just shut 3. No, they're actually smart.
Okay, so you
Bless it. Let me open it. Where's your
So you fill up Okay, so you fill up the 5 liter one total, and then you pour 3 liters into the... Wait, are we at number 3? And then you pour it out, and then you pour... I made it towards the line! That are left.